be like, over there, try something.
We're good now.
Welcome to the Coopersville Library Solutions by our team. I'm Olivia. I'm Elsie. I'm Abby. I'm next week. Our driving question is, how can we help the library be aware of everything that's off? We invite you to come stand and walk with us to show the library. So first, we wrote down our driving question and wrote and we had to write down some things we knew about the driving question, wanted to know, and something we wanted to learn. And then the other thing we did is we did tell it like a toddler, where we took the driving question and kind of like dumbed it down into smaller words so it was easier to understand. And for these two posters, we took like what people who interact with the library see, think, say, and do and feel about the library. And John represents people who love the library and like go to it often, and Kate represents people who don't like the library and don't come to it as often. And then we also made the library's perspective and what like the people that work here and like can like control it, say, think, see, do, and feel. And then we did stakeholder maps. The middle things are the library, and then around it are everything that holds like power and like who interacts with the library.
This is where we went around personally around the library to take pictures of what we saw that they had to offer. So we took pictures of the types of books, the technology, the info, the activities, the spaces, and the accessibilities.
For all these posters right here, every one of us had a different age group that we created a person on based on their demographics, hobbies and interests, challenges, role in the story, income, education, goals and motivations, and beliefs and values to understand how we can make everyone aware of the library. And then over here, we figured out everything that the library has to offer, and then we made categories of what is advertised and what isn't. And then for all of the is advertised, we figured out where and how it was advertised. And then before we did that, we did a survey, and that was just to help us see what the community knew about the library and what we needed to help promote. So the survey, we created a survey and printed out QR codes, and we walked around town and gave it to some of the businesses around town. We had it up for 2 weeks, and here's what we found. So we had 159 responses in total, which is honestly way more than I thought we'd get, but it was really helpful, so it was great. So we split it up into 5 different sections. The first one is spaces offered. A lot of people knew you guys had the children's room, the teen room, and the community space. Not very many people knew you had the history room, so we knew that was something we kind of wanted to advertise more. The next one was the accessibilities at the library. A lot of people knew you guys had the large print books and the technology charging station. Not very many people knew you guys were like a warming or cooling shelter, like where they could come in after a storm or they lost power, and that you guys have free coding tests. The other one is activities that the library has to offer. A lot of people knew you guys had the summer reading programs. That's one of the biggest things you guys do. And a lot of people knew you guys had the Maker Mondays. Not very many people who knew you guys had the cookbook club, but I feel like a lot more people would join if they did. What technology you guys have. A lot of people knew you guys had the computers, the printing services, movies, and free Wi-Fi. Not very many knew you guys had the fax machine, the legal services, and the mobile scanner. And then just like miscellaneous. A lot of people knew you guys had the playground next to the library, the toys in the kids' room, and the lost and found. Very few knew you guys had genealogy, and then the vitality packs. These are solutions using advertising.
For the first one, we would like to get placemats printed and collaborate with local companies like restaurants to put our placemats in popular places. Placemats is a simple, easy, and inexpensive way to promote the library. We have created a prototype of a placemat to show an example of what it could look like. And so for this placemat that we made, we put a bunch of activities kind of connected to the library. And we kind of have a short description of how you can get connected to the library and what the library has to offer. The cost of printing a black and white placemat at L&L Printing is 50 cents per placemat. This is a cheap way to tell the community about what the library offers and how to get connected. For the placemats, we would have to find a company that's willing to collaborate and put our placemats in their building. And that might take some time, but for printing, it could take as little as a week.
Newspaper. Image and word advertisements can both be done with the Coopersville Observer, which is obviously local to Coopersville, and the surrounding areas. The ads can have details about what the library offers and information such as dates, age ranges, how to sign up and attend to events, and more. And many people read the newspaper to find information about events going on near them that they can go to like easily. And then the Coopersville Observer goes out to 6,700 homes around and in Coopersville. So it's more like, so it would reach a lot of people. And then the price varies on if it's a picture ad or a classified ad. A picture ad can vary in cost based on the size, with a business card ad being around $50. And a classified ad would be $15 for the first 20 words and then 10 cents for each word after. And here's just an example of a picture ad for newspaper and then a classified ad. Flyers. We plan to give the flyers to local businesses, churches, shops, and other communities that would allow flyers to be displayed and shared out. And then the flyers could be printed with the library printers, so the cost would just be however much it costs to use the printers. And you can make a lot of different flyers for the library as a whole, along with some for just individualized events and opportunities. And here's an example of a flyer for the library as a whole, and then one for. So for the Spotify ads, so what you see on the screen is something that you could send into Spotify and they can make it into an ad for you. So you would have to create an account on Spotify Ad Studio. Then when you're on your account, you would define your company's objective, target audience, and the budget that you guys have. And then you would upload like your audio or like whatever you want them to say, and they will create it for you and just to Spotify. And then the radio ad, you would be able to kind of create an ad and like give it. A lot of people listen to the radio while in cars going places, can't really skip past the ads, so it's a good way. And there are radio stations like specific to certain areas, so you'd be able to find the radio station that's specific to this area to hit this target. You'd be able to do it year round and you can change it. And then the cost is estimated to be about $112.
Another way that we could answer the question is through outreach. For this, we would plan to interact with local organizations and businesses like churches, fire stations, restaurants and stores. These locations we could turn into keys to learn about the library. And one way we would do that is have a speaker go and talk to the people that are in that area, and then have flyers there that, like Paige said, either for the library or just for that specific event. And that could be a lot like the survey that we did, because for that, we just walked down Main Street, went to a bunch of different businesses. They let you put up papers for free, so we could just put flyers in the window fronts for no cost at all.
One of the ideas for outreach we had was having an open house. An open house would create first-hand experience for people to come in and see what the library has to offer personally. Some of our ideas, this is just like an outline. We're maybe having food trucks out front in the parallel parking spots. They would attract a lot of patrons and they would be there for like lunch, and you could have chalk outside to have the kids draw and something, have a fun activity. Inside, we could have the librarians stationed around to welcome the patrons, and they could be hosting events. Some of the events we came up with was a scavenger hunt, where you could hold a scavenger hunt in the book stacks and they could look for a certain type of book. Well, discovering what the library has to offer on their way, like they could see the book club kits or something, or the magazines. They could see more of what the library has to offer than what they see on the website. Another thing would be the crafts that are a craft time in like the community room, where you could hold stuff like what you do for Maker Monday and like just present what you do. They could also be a read aloud for like kids. They could influence the kids to come here more often, have more fun in like the kids' room. You could also have a video game tournament for the teens, which would have the teens more interested in what the library has to offer, more than the books. And you would need chalk, food trucks. You could get sponsors. You could do it like if Bearded Dads was in town, you could just offer for them to do it right up front. And there's some more local ones that would be willing to do it too. Crafts, picture books, prizes. You could do like coupons or candy even for like if you won the scavenger hunt or something. And video games, controllers, a plan for the scavenger hunt, and bright decorations that would like influence creativity and spark like a need to be here. This was our map that we created. It just shows where everything could be, and you don't have to do this, but you could like do something like this.
Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions?